What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Dream Catchers Fishing Channel. Hey, before we get started, if you like our videos, subscribe to our channel right there in the bottom right hand corner. And then also, if you like the video, you can like it and comment on it because I want your thoughts. So the other day, great customer of ours comes in. I was like, hey man, thinking about fishing your tournament trail. And he goes, you're not allowed, you're a cheater. Calls me a cheater, just straight up calls me a cheater. And I'm like, what? Like what makes me a cheater? And he said, we don't let any guides fish our tournaments because you guys would break the rules of the tournament trail. And I'm like immediately thinking like, hold on, wait, what are you talking about? So their tournament trail specifically, you're only allowed to have 1 day of practice out on the specific body of water. And yeah, I'm like, well dude, if I can manage a guide schedule and only have 1 day of practice, I should be able to comply with those rules. And he said, nope, no way, we're not letting you in the club. And I was like, what in the world's the deal? And I made a video a while back talking about why I don't fish tournaments here, kind of at a local level. And, it's kind of a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation. If I do win tournaments, everyone goes, oh, well, he should win. He's a guide. And if I don't win the tournaments, they're like, what kind of guide is he? He doesn't win tournaments. Since I made that video, I have fished 3 tournaments. And in those 3 tournaments, I have won one, won the other, and finished 4th. So I get it. But I understand to a certain extent because we are on the water all the time. Our decision making gets that much more dialed in. And to the average, weekend warrior that's out there, maybe 1 day a week tops, maybe he can get off work just to get a day of pre-fish. I could definitely get how they can see it's an unfair advantage. So I ain't hating, I get it. There might be a little bit more of a competitive advantage because we're on the water all the time. We've become more efficient just purely because of time. Listen, if you do anything a bunch, you're gonna get good at it and get efficient at it. So I can definitely see, compared to your average weekend warrior guy that's, works a 9 to 5 and just gets to go on the weekends, competing against a guy who's out on the water all the time is unfair. I get it. So I ain't tripping that much, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, hey, I still gotta execute the bite too. And, I think there's obviously a lot of skill involved in fishing. That's why I think multiple guys who win multiple events, you're like, man, they can definitely put the hammer down on some guys. The thing that upsets me though, right, is if there's like a couple guys that aren't winning in a club, man, they act, I'm about to go somewhere. They act like it's the Church Feud, right? Oh, the preacher said something we didn't like. We going down the road and we gonna start another church. They do the same thing with fishing clubs. If there's a couple guys that are winning every tournament and a couple guys are losing, they're like, well, we're just gonna go start our own club. And it's just like, that doesn't make you get better, man. Listen, I once had a very wise man tell me, don't get bitter, get better. So I'm like, hey, you get out what you put in. And if you're putting in a lot of hard work, I truly believe, even though fishing, there is some luck involved, you will see results. So if you're not putting in a lot of effort, you're not gonna get a lot of results. But if you are putting in a lot of effort, I think slowly but surely results come over time. So it's one of those deals. When guys like, oh, I'm upset, I'm getting beat all the time in this club, or I'm getting beat all the time, and then they're like, I'm starting my own club. Man, that's just a bad rap. Like I said, it's like the church look. I'm like, come on, man. Come on. We're all grown people. We can do better than that. We can be better than that. Some guys don't want me competing, to call me a cheater. I don't know about that, but the reality is here, they won't let any of our guides fish in tournaments. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I love tournament fishing. All of our guides, obviously we're bass fishermen. The whole industry is founded on competition. We all like tournament fishing. So it's one of those things. Truthfully, at the end of the day, it should be really about one thing, and it should be having fun and making memories. Maybe that's 2 things, but one thing together. But it's like, hey, if you win and do great, congrats. If you don't win and do great, hey, you learn. The cool thing is with fishing, I never really feel like you lose. And you could be like, well, what do you mean, Austin? The reality is you either win or you learn. And to me, learning, now boy, let me tell you something. Learning a lot of times can be more important than winning, because when you win, you just win. And it's like, hey, I won, and there's no real creativity thinking. You just completed something, you did it. But when you don't win and you learn, now all of a sudden it gets your gears spinning. You start thinking outside the box and you want to get better. So that's what I think fishing is about anyways. You know, you have fun, and it's about having fun. You either win or you learn. And either way, boy, throw up them dubs, West Side, winners. I think that is just important. Learning and winning are both extremely important, which you do every day on the water anyways. So it's one of those things. But he said some guys would be really upset because they feel like we as guides have an unfair advantage because we're on the lake all the time. And the reality of the situation is we are on the lakes all the time, but we still have to figure out the fish from day to day. That's the one thing with bass fishing and being a bass fishing guide is like, just because we guide doesn't mean the fish haven't changed from day to day, and we have got to figure it out just like everyone else. Like I said, yeah, we put together a good string of tournaments. You know, we win quite a few tournaments that we get into, but at the same time, like, we still got to go out there and execute. And what I always tell people straight up, as a fisherman, usually I'm not competing against you, even though obviously how we finish in the tournament is against each other. But I'm usually trying to fish against myself. I'm fishing against my decisions, and I'm competing against the fish. You know, I always tell myself, hey, my job is to be a better angler than I was the day before. And if I can complete that, then I'm doing something, you know, whether it's keeping fish pinned, making the right decisions, going into the right areas, getting the timing down, knowing when to hit what spot, and at that what spot, what specific deal is dialed in to be able to execute a bite. That to me is the competition. It's myself and my decisions. But it's just one of them things. It is what it is. Am I a cheater? Heck no. But speaking of which, we just got done fishing the Fontana Spring Classic, and before the tournament, there was an angler pre-fishing that found 2 fish tied up on buoys around laydowns up in one of the creeks. And it just made me really think that there are definitely some people out there that will do whatever it takes because it's an ego thing, or maybe they're that broke that they need the money. In which I think the fishing community is like, hey dude, if you're like that struggling for cash, I'm sure people would just financially help you. But anyways, it was absolutely crazy because I called about everybody in the tournament because they're all customers. I'm like, hey, did you hear there was some fish, you know, tied up and so forth? And the guys that won ended up winning clean. I mean, they absolutely hammered them. Guys saw them fishing, they whacked them. But there are definitely some people that try to do some sketchy stuff. And is it for the ego? Maybe. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think outdoorsmen can be extremely jealous. Like when there's like one guy catching them really good, guys just hate on them for whatever reason, which is another thing. I have haters, and I don't know why. Because I'm like, I've never done anything, not one single thing personally to somebody. So if somebody's got beef with me, it's all manufactured out of their own heart. I'm like, I've never done anything to you. I just fish. I try to provide a great customer service experience for my customers in the store on guide trips. I'm like, I don't know why people don't like me. But like I said, I think fishermen have the tendency to be extremely jealous for people that are doing great things, whether it be winning tournaments, whether it's successful business across the board. Sometimes outdoorsmen can just be a little bit on the envious side. But anyways, maybe that's why they don't want me competing or my guides competing. I think it's crummy. The reality is, they said it would break up the trail if we had won a couple tournaments, and it happens. We had one of our guides go out fish. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go fish the tournament trail. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. He ended up sacking them up, and then they're like, no more guides, no more guides. And I'm like, don't you want to compete against the best? Like, as far as competing against each other, because that would make you better, right? But hey, I get it. You gotta rub the egos of outdoorsmen sometimes. Just an opinion, just a public opinion. I don't know if it's a popular opinion, but I'm just throwing it out there on public. But anyways, just some thoughts about tournament fishing, haters, and all of the ego within it. The bass fishing industry is extremely wild. If you want haters, be successful. That's all I got to say. And if you're too successful, they just won't let you fish in tournaments. So it is what it is. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out. Before I say anything else, I'm out.